Welcome to this week's Future Toolbox podcast. We explore the Z to A of life skills, where each letter stands for a topic and essential tool to help you get ahead in life. Meet Jules and Mark, creators of the multi-award-winning Future Toolbox, and enjoy their straightforward approach to creating growth mindsets that help people turn their dreams into realities. Whether you're a teen in education, a parent, a teacher, or part of a community group, start creating positive habits from today.
Hi and welcome to our latest Z2A podcast with myself, Jules, and Mark from the multi-award winning Future Toolbox.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the latest episode.
This is where we pick a letter and a topic and discuss how you can use our tools to improve your own personal development and life. So let's go over to you to find out what this episode's letter is.
You actually just said the word, so
I know.
It's P for personal development.
Ding ding!
Ding ding. Now, I remember hearing this phrase, personal development, when we started working in network marketing a number of years ago, and somebody said, you need to get involved in your personal development. And I thought, well, what's that? Personal development, it sounds like developing yourself. So how do you develop yourself? And realistically, it's another word for learning. But the problem we have is the word learning, people think, oh, I don't like learning because I used to do that at school and I did exams, or I'm still doing exams and I'm working towards that and school is boring. So the mindset around learning can be quite difficult.
It can be quite negative, can't it?
It can, yeah. So what we need to do is reset our mindset on learning and think of what this word personal development means. It's about developing you as a person. It's making you more rounded. It's making you more confident in your own abilities.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that you should never stop doing, because all of your life should be about challenging yourself and being able to achieve the things that you want to do. Now, if you're setting yourself goals or there's things that you want to do, that's all part of your personal development, because quite often you'll need to learn something new maybe to achieve a goal. But whether you have to learn something new or just work on parts of your own personality and mindset, it's all about developing yourself.
Yeah, and you could even put a C in front of it and call it continuous personal development, which is quite a business buzzword, isn't it? People use that a lot and say, well, we're doing our CPD today, we're doing this, it counts towards my CPD, which is my continuous personal development. But as you say, this isn't just about learning business, this isn't just about learning to pass exams, it's about you developing yourself in whatever you want to do.
It is. And the thing with personal development and any form of learning is there are many ways to make it fun. And that's what Future Toolbox does. We make revision and study easy and fun. And personal development should be fun as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a real key. You have to enjoy what you're doing. There will be chores in life that are exactly that. They're chores, they're unenjoyable, they have to be done, they're essentials. But if you pick something that you really enjoy doing, or you find a way of learning in the way that's going to engage you, then that is going to be more effective than just, say, picking something up and going, well, this is a chore, I've got to work through this just to get to the end goal. So there are many different ways that you can make learning fun. For example, in our Smart in Your Study, we look at things like creating stories, creating mind maps, creating fun rhymes, and even writing a song to help you remember stuff that you need to learn. But stepping away from the classroom situation, one of my favourite ways of learning in the early days was reading books.
I still love reading books.
Yeah. And it's a really, really good way of switching off almost, switching your mind off, but switching it on, if that makes sense, because that's contradictory. But taking time away from what you're doing each day to maybe read 10 or 15 or even 20 pages of a book on personal development, or be setting yourself a goal to read a chapter a day.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you're actually almost sitting a course, because your book could be a course module. A book that I absolutely loved in the early days was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was all about money mindset. And there was a book called Money Mindset, wasn't there?
I was going to say, I love the book that you just mentioned. And there's also one out there for teens, which is called
Rich Dad, Poor Dad for Teens as well.
There you go. Perfect. But there's also a separate book called Money Mindset. Put those two together and it's so useful in terms of developing how you manage and look after your money and what it is that you want your money to do for you and what you can do for that. It's fantastic. So that, yeah, I love that one. There's another one that I really, really enjoyed, and I still go back to it. And it's called The Chimp Paradox. It's the mind management program, and it says it's for confidence, success and happiness, but it's absolutely brilliant. And when you read it, it makes so much sense in terms of how you can control your own mindset and the thoughts and that little chimp that's in your brain.
Has lots of pictures in it as well,
it's
isn't it?
just a brilliant book by Professor Steve Peters. And if you haven't read it, then have a read of that one. But in saying that, there's so many personal development books out there. I would say to anybody that's starting this journey or is looking for something is to have a think about what it is that you're trying to achieve. Is it something like you want to change some of your habits? So you may have some not so good habits that you want to get rid of, but you want to create some good ones. There's an absolutely amazing book on that.
Yeah, that was a book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. It was a really, really interesting read. But what we've just done there is we've encompassed a whole learning plan, because back in the day when we read those books on money mindset and making money work for us, that helped us to get ourselves into a financially independent or more financially independent position, and it gave us the foresight to work ahead to that. Put in there the books about the habits and the mindsets, that helped create our right mindset to be able to put the financial plan in place and stick to it. Now, if you take all of those books there, you could see one of those books as module 1, one of those books as module 2, one of those books as module 3. If you want to make it sort of formalising the whole process, you can think, right, I'm going to start by reading that book, I'm going to read that book, and I'm going to read that book. Now I've done a course, I've done 3 modules on it. The great news is there's no exam, and you can go back and read them books as many times as you want. The last bit of advice I'll give on reading books as well is writing them. If they're your own books, make notes in them, stick little sticky labels in so you can reference back to them whenever you want and think, oh, what was that thing again? I don't need to write down loads of notes. I can just underline it or highlight it.
Do you know another great book that I read was called The Miracle Morning, and it just helps you to almost get a few more hours out of the day than you had before. It just encourages you to get up slightly earlier and get this wonderful routine in place so that you're ready to tackle that day no matter what it might throw at you or what you've got planned, whether you want to do it or not. Brilliant book to read.
And that leads me really nicely onto these people that are going to sit there and go, yeah, Mark and Jules, this is great, but I don't have time to sit there and read a book. I'm busy, I do all of this, I do all of that and whatever. The way that we actually learned to become effective in personal development was back in the days when I was driving up and down the country, working in schools as a freelance speaker. Instead of putting the news on the radio or listening to some music, I'd listen to a personal development book. We have audio books as well. And that was absolutely fascinating because sometimes hearing the book in the author's voice was actually really, really engaging. I listened to so many books, and it was back in the days where you actually got them in CD format as well. Yeah. I'd copy them all onto a memory stick, but the technology's out there. And I would much rather listen to that than listen to the news or listen to the radio and people rambling on about stuff that I'm not interested in at all. So if I've got an hour-long journey, all of a sudden the traffic would disappear, the red lights would disappear and everything like that because I'd be engaged. And sometimes I'd find I have to drive around the block a few times to listen to the end of it or sit in the car outside the house or the school I was turning up to. So you can find time to do these. But obviously we've focused on reading books or listening to audiobooks, but there are so many other ways of learning.
Yeah, you can, for example, take part in a hobby, something that you thought, I've always wanted to do that. And one of the things I've always wanted to do was to create things from clay. So I've been to some pottery classes and wasn't sure whether it was something that I could do, but with some right training and working with the right people, I can now create wonderful things with a little lump of clay. It's brilliant, brilliant.
That's it. And again, people think that learning has to be about something serious. Pottery, we've learned music, we've learned how to play paddle, we've learned how to paddleboard, we've done all of these things. They're really, really good fun, but you have to use your mind and you have to use your balance, you have to build your confidence. You have to do so many things in order to take up a new hobby or recreate or get better at a hobby or something that you're learning that you've been learning for years and maybe put down. So, yeah, hobbies, fantastic.
Yeah, and it could involve joining a club maybe, and that will not only help with your personal development but it'll increase your social circles as well if you join a club.
So we can't really leave this bit without talking about what we're doing right now. We're recording a podcast. Is that a good way of learning? Well, I hope the people that are listening to this are learning something from it.
Do you know, it's a great way of learning and getting to understand things that maybe you didn't, or even just listening to other people's points of views, or listening to people that have gone through adversity like we have and how they've coped with certain things. If you feel that you can't sit down and read a book, because it's not for everybody, listen to a podcast.
Yeah, you could follow a podcast, even join a webinar. There's so many different ways now. And it's almost, I'm getting really stuck on which bit to talk about next because there is so many different ways of learning. But the most important thing is you've got to take it all the way back to the start. It's got to be something that you enjoy doing. And even if you go back to your school days or you are a student in school, and you're learning something that may be quite difficult or something that doesn't excite you, but it's the means to taking the next step on your qualification, then find a way of making that bit fun. And you use the words that we use at the Future Toolbox, how to make revision and study easy and fun. That is the key to moving forward. You've got something that's really boring, turn it into something fun, get some other people involved, get some friends involved, and all of a sudden you realise that this is a little bit easier and a little bit less laborious a task to do.
Personal development also gives you lots of other things. So, for example, it will help you to develop your own strengths. By taking that time that you're going to focus on nurturing yourself and using your strengths more, you're going to go from being somebody that is possibly mediocre at something to being really, really good. And that will increase your strengths, but also it boosts your confidence.
Yes, naturally, the more you do something, the more you learn, the better you become, the more confident you become. So, for example, when we first started public speaking, we weren't the most confident. When we first started learning to sing, play the guitar, play the drums, do music. I remember the first time we tried to do a song live on stage, it was really scary.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that personal development does. It pushes you outside your comfort zone. It helps you to expand that comfort zone and to become more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
And in doing that, it also improves what's called your self-awareness. It gives you the opportunity to really take an honest look at the areas of your life that you feel needs improvement. And through this process of self-development, you get to know who you really are and what your true values are. It will help you in terms of where you want to go in your life and what goals you want to achieve. So it will improve your own self-awareness and understanding of who you are.
And I've got an idea of how you can actually work on this bit, because sometimes we're really good at saying what we're not very good at. And if you find you're always saying, well, I'm rubbish at that, or I'm not very good at that, or you're better than me, the times that you say that, bank them, write them down and think, okay, so I'm not very good at this task. So-and-so is better than me. Then change your mindset. How can I get better at this? And then look at ways of improving that in personal development. So if you're a student in school and you say, I'm rubbish at maths, I'm rubbish at maths, I'm rubbish at maths, you're going to be rubbish at maths because you're telling yourself that. What you now need to do is think, okay, I've said that enough times now. How can I get better at maths? And if you want to get better, you can get better. You're never going to stick at being rubbish at something unless you keep telling yourself that. Remove maths and just put whatever word you say in there that you're rubbish at all the time. Or think about something that you say, I'm not starting that because I won't be very good at it. Effectively, I put off learning playing the guitar. I've mentioned that. I put that off for years and years. I could have started that many years ago if I wanted to. The thing is, I didn't want to because I didn't have the desire to do it and sit down and do it. When the time was right, I did.
I think as well, it goes back to that whole confidence. You think, oh, I'd love to do that, but I don't think I'm going to be any good, or I don't think I can do that, or I've tried it once and it didn't work. So you naturally just think, I can't do that. But this whole discussion around your personal development is about saying, do you know, that's something I really want to have a go at. I've always wanted to play the drums. Always had this desire to make as much noise as I can with a pair of sticks and, or whatever. And just, I love the music, I love the beat. But somewhere or another, the opportunity hasn't really come around. But when it did, I thought, you know, I'm going to have a go at this. And I started off with bongos, which are different to drumming, but you have to learn to understand the music and the beat. And when you start doing it for the first time, when people are actually there listening to you, it is scary. But personal development forces you at times to get out of that comfort zone. And honestly, we've said about it a few times in previous podcasts, but if you can get out of that comfort zone, seriously, that is where the magic happens. Because now you can't stop me drumming.
You can't.
Love it.
No.
Wherever we are, if there's music on and I can hear something, I will be tapping away onto something. It might be a chair, a desk, the car wheel when I'm driving, but I'm constantly doing it and I just love it. And I've got so much confidence in my ability now to be able to do it.
And thankfully, if a song comes into your head at 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't make that much noise.
I don't start.
You don't start drumming at 3 o'clock in the morning. Wake all the neighbours up.
Not yet.
Not yet. And that also leads on to thinking about the ability to get something right. If you try something once and you don't get it right, think to yourself, how many people get something right the first time? So we have to accept that making mistakes is going to be a part of your learning journey. And it is absolutely brilliant to make a mistake. And don't worry about it. If somebody laughs at you, then that's okay. It's absolutely fine. But if you can make a mistake and think, right, I made a mistake. Why did I make that mistake? Now, you might not understand straight away why you've made that mistake. But we've talked a little bit about playing paddle tennis in previous podcasts. And I remember playing alongside a really, really good player and thinking, oh, I'm a little bit imposter syndrome here. I'm not good enough to play with this person. But every time I made a mistake, I remember saying, I think I made that mistake because I was standing too far forward on the court. And he went, that's okay, as long as you know why you made the mistake. Next time, step further forward. And over time, I still carried on making the mistake, but it became better and better and better. And all of a sudden, then I nailed that shot.
Brilliant. Mistakes are just learning curves in your pathway. They are there to help you. They're not there because you failed or you've done something wrong. They really are learning curves for you. A great way to begin looking at what you want to do in terms of your own personal development is to ask yourself some questions and maybe write the answers down or record them, put them on your phone, whichever way you want to do it. Things like, what do I want to achieve in life? And that sounds like such a big question, but it's a really, really important question, because if you don't know what you want to achieve, then you're not going to have any goals and you're not going to have anything to work towards. So think about what it is that you want to achieve in life.
And this, again, we've talked a lot about goals. They don't have to be huge ones. It's like, what do I want to try to do? What would I like to take up as a hobby, as we've mentioned earlier?
It's all about the process of becoming the person that you want to be and motivating yourself to be doing it. But also think to yourself, as Mark said a bit earlier, what things am I afraid of? Are you afraid of doing that because you're scared that you're going to fail? What puts you off that particular goal or hobby or whatever it is that you might want to do, that you're stopping yourself from going forward and doing it? Write some of those things down and think about how you would face those fears and how you're going to stop being afraid of it and just face the fear and go for it.
So the two questions that we've asked so far are, what do I want to achieve in my life, or what would I like to try, maybe something new, or pick something up that I've tried before? How do I face my fears? I'm going to add another one, which is, what is going to add value to my life? So think about what it is that is going to drive your life forward towards the goals that you want. For example, in those days where I was listening to personal development in the car instead of the news, I used to think, is the radio and the news going to add value to my life, or is listening to this money mindset going to? And that is a real key.
I think the last thing that you need to think about in terms of your personal development, your life and what you want to achieve is, what would happen if you didn't do it? Because that's the big thing. If there's something that you really want in life and you don't do it, and you get to an age, are you going to have that regret that you didn't give it a go? So many people do get to a certain age where they're mentally or physically unable to do certain things, and they regret hugely they didn't give it a go. So think about what would happen if you don't do these things.
Yeah. That's real key, because as time moves forward, you move forward with it. So think about how you can continue to grow and develop yourself each day. A good starting point would be to go to futuretoolbox.co.uk, our website, of course. There's loads and loads of free tools on there. We also have our books that you can read, which are obviously personal development books like Don't Get Your Neck Tattooed, The Z to A of Life. And you can find them in our shop or on Amazon. Also on our website is a link to our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. We have a YouTube channel. We have this podcast, of course, listen to back episodes. In fact, there's so much personal development. Well, just take the pick of what works for you. But we look forward to catching you in the next episode, and keep enjoying your learning journey.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for the Z2A of Life Skills with Jules and Mark of the Future Toolbox. Don't forget to head over to their website, which is futuretoolbox.co.uk, where you can find lots of free resources, plus a host of books in the store, as well as subscribing to the membership site. Follow Future Toolbox Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Future Toolbox, and subscribe to their YouTube channel too.